1971 to 1974. Strat-O-Matic Excel Carryover League. Brought to you by the Shrimp Trawler.
Game 349, Blue Jays at Yankees.
Welcome back, baseball fans. 1971-74 Carryover League. We are back today in the American League East, a series between the Toronto Blue Jays and the New York Yankees. And wow, folks, this has been a lot of fun here, and for kind of an unusual reason, because these two baseball clubs are playing great baseball at a time you would not expect it. First of all, the Blue Jays have sort of been our darling the last few years of how a team that didn't even exist until 1977. We put together a roster for them, and boy, they're a solid team that you got to go out of your way, and you just can't show up and be sloppy and assume you're going to blow out the Blue Jays. It doesn't happen. They got solid starting pitching, a solid bullpen, a decent lineup. No real all-stars or Hall of Famers, of course, but they have been playing great baseball for 2 years now. And oddly enough, they're going against a Yankee team who during this era was known mostly for mediocrity. As their stadium was renovated, they were hovering around 500. They couldn't keep up with the Red Sox or the Tigers or the Orioles, of course, in the American League East. And so, you want to kick dirt on both these squads, but it turns out that they both come out swinging this year with solid play all around, which would really set up a very good series, where suddenly it's like the mediocre Yankees, who would have thought, are kind of the underdog to a fictional team that didn't even exist. And it turns out every game we've played has been a great little story of good, solid baseball. Let's get started in Game 1. Opening up in Yankee Stadium, Doyle Alexander for the Blue Jays versus Mel Stottlemyre. And this game is where the bats tell the story. They get to Alexander, solo homer by Nettles. Blue Jays respond, a Tim Foley RBI single. Yankees respond, 3 straight walks to load the bases, an RBI ground out and single. Blue Jays respond, 2-run homer by Jim Brazile, one of these extra player cards with plenty of pop. Yankees respond with an RBI single after a Munson triple, an RBI single by Stick Michael. And then to break the tie in the 7th, here's your Blue Jays, and it just seems like they always seem to have the answer when things are looking bleakest. A homer by Bill Voss, a double, and a 2-out single by Mike Lum. They take a 5-4 lead, but in the bottom of the 7th inning, Alexander is taken out, and the Blue Jay bullpen, which has been solid for 2 years, falters. Phil Hennigan gets, it's not all his fault. There is an RBI double to tie the thing, but then you get an error by Tim Foley, normally a good glove shortstop, a sac fly, and then a home run by Roy White. And suddenly it finally opens up for the Yankees. It's a 9-5 victory in Game 1. And then this one, I guess you could say, the final counterpunch was Phil Hennigan failing in relief of Doyle Alexander. A loss for a Toronto reliever. So let's go to Game 2. The Blue Jays have been resilient all year, and we kind of expect them to get a road win here, based on past behavior being a good indicator of future behavior. Clyde Wright versus Fritz Peterson in a Game 2. And ladies and gentlemen, the final score is exactly the same. It's 9-5, but it comes in a completely different way. The Blue Jays, after losing Game 1, come out of the blocks. Single, double, sac fly, double, Jim Brazile again, 2-run homer, 5 runs out of your first 6 batters, blitzing Fritz Peterson, who would stick around in this. But sadly, the Blue Jays just kind of fall asleep at the wheel a little bit, feeling that the 5-run stunner will be enough to quiet these Yankees. But the Yankees against Clyde Wright, they're not very good against lefties, but they are today. They pick off Clyde Wright with an individual runs in the 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th innings. Double walk after an error. RBI single after a double here. Bases loaded single after a couple walks. RBI ground out in the 6th. Very workmanlike. 5-1, 5-2, 5-3, 5-4. Then the Yankees finally take the lead in the 7th after Clyde Wright's gone off of Elias Sosa. Another Toronto reliever who had normally been good, but he gets knocked around, giving up 4 hits and 2 walks and 5 runs in the 7th and 8th innings. Capped off, this was a 1-run game until Thurman Munson hits a 3-run homer to make it a 4-run game. Sparky Law comes in to close it out. So it looks like the Blue Jays, the clock has just struck midnight, as they now starting to look like just an average team. And the Yankees look like a great team, but then again, what is the level of competition? We're not quite sure. We're probably going to need to get some road victories by somebody to establish how good you are. Now the Blue Jays, if you recall, they had 3 straight road wins in Fenway Park in their previous series, and that's kind of why we've always been touting this Blue Jay team. But now they're down 0-2. So what happens in Game 3 as we go up to Canada? Game 3, it's chilly, it's cold. The Yankees bats have cooled off significantly. It is Strat-O-Matic versus Carl Morton. The Blue Jays, they had Doyle Alexander last year, but then they completely replaced the rest of their starting rotation. They have Clyde Wright, of course, who was traded for Paul Splittorff, but he can pitch on 3 days rest. Carl Morton was put on waivers by the Colorado Rockies because he was getting knocked around. And then they selected Jerry Royce with a Commissioner Award pick on waivers, but he's not quite the Jerry Royce we know from the mid to late 70s on the Dodgers. He's still trying to figure it out, but they can all pitch on 3 days rest. In this encounter, it's Carl Morton for the Blue Jays. Bottom of the 2nd inning, the Blue Jays get some shaky defense by the normally reliable Yankee outfielders. Mercer gives up a single, and then there's a 2-base error in this one off of Mercer in this one as well, and a sac fly, so it's 2-0. Munson homer makes it 2-1. Yankees tie the run in the 5th, believe it or not, with the bases loaded, nobody out, double play, no RBI given. Bottom of the 5th, though, a walk, a triple by Clendenon and Milt May, 3-run homer off of Strat-O-Matic, and that's your ball game. 5-2. This time, the Blue Jay bullpen has to close out the last 2 innings, and they do it. Hennigan, who lost Game 1, a scoreless 8th. Joe Grisenda, the all-star closer, gets the save, and the Blue Jays get what they needed to avoid the 0-3 hole. They get the win, 5-2. Then we go to Game 4. Oh my goodness, folks. Game 4, it's Jim McAndrew, who threw a shutout his last time out in the previous series, against Jerry Royce, who I complained about is not quite the star pitcher he would turn out to be with the Pirates and Dodgers a little bit later. Here he is with his Astros card. But in this game, Jim McAndrew gave up 2 hits, a single to Tommy Agee, and then with 2 outs, Don Clendenon hits a double, and the 2 Mets, Agee scores on the double from Clendenon from first base, and that's the only run of this game. McAndrew's line, 7 innings, those 2 hits and that run, no walks and 2 strikeouts. And surely the Yankees can score a run or 2 to avoid the Blue Jays coming back and tying this series, and the answer is no, they cannot. Jerry Royce, 7 2/3, 6 hits, no runs allowed, and was pulled, throwing a shutout for all-star closer Joe Grisenda, who got another save. 1-0 Blue Jays. And ladies and gentlemen, this thing's all tied up, and now you're seeing that, man, these teams, it's hard to beat the Yankees, it's hard to beat the Blue Jays, and when they play each other, it's hard-nosed baseball. We'd hate to see one of these teams miss out on the playoffs this year, but it looks like somebody probably will miss out. Game 5 in Toronto. Mel Stottlemyre against Clyde Wright on 3 days rest. Another classic baseball game. Blue Jays, couple walks in the 2nd, an RBI single and a sac fly. And then in the 7th inning, Mike Hirschberger. Who? Yeah, Mike Hirschberger was a Chicago White Sox corner outfielder. Gets the start against the lefty Wright. A 2-run blast. It's 2-2. This thing has to go extras. Mel Stottlemyre is a starter 9, so he could go 10 if necessary. Clyde Wright is pulled after 8 innings. Hit his point of weakness, 6 hits, 2 runs, 3 walks. In the 10th inning, it is a Bobby Mercer, homer 1-5, fly ball the rest. He hits it. It's a 3-2 lead. Sosa would get the loss. Inning in the third, 5 hits, that solo homer. Bottom of the 10th inning, Stottlemyre's pulled after 9 innings, 5 hits to 2 runs, 3 walks, 5 strikeouts. Sparky Lyle, can he close out Game 5 on the road? Ground out, a strikeout of Morrell, and a strikeout of Hal Lanier. A series that was tied 2-2 in this game was tied 2-2 after 7 and then 1 in the 10th. 3-2 Yankees. They do indeed bring a road win back to Yankee Stadium for a Game 6. And that's what we have today for you folks. Plenty to talk about, so I decided I would jump in and do that. Game 6 in Yankee Stadium, but we got to look at the overall standings. In the American League East, plenty of great baseball is being played this year. Here we have it. Baltimore, somewhat of a, not a surprise they're in first, somewhat of a surprise of the gaudy record of 16-5, because they are getting older and their cards are getting worse when you remove the 1969 and 1970 cards. So they're way up here. But look at your Blue Jays, still not faltering, and the Yankees. 3 600 baseball teams in one division, and unfortunately the Red Sox have not a clear path to anything. They're 4 games under, but they're not awful. Red Sox certainly aren't a bad team. It's just that it's almost like the 2023 American League East in traditional MLB, the way that's going. Everybody is playing out of their minds, and somebody's going to have to go home. Right now the Yankees are on the outside looking in the American League. Actually, they may have nipped the Indians by half game, so that might change. Because the bottom of the league is awful. The A's are game over 500. These guys are just anchors. They're terrible. White Sox just a game over, and everybody else is under. So the bottom half of this league is terrible. In the top half, you've got the Expos playing good baseball. The Indians are as well, plus those 3 teams in the East. So this is a very important game today in Yankee Stadium. Game 6. It will be Doyle Alexander for the Blue Jays. He's their number 1 starter, even though he can't pitch on 3 days of rest. He does need a 4th day off. But statistically, he is their best pitcher. He was 6-8 for Baltimore with a 2.46 ERA in 106 innings in 1972. The Blue Jays' path to success is finding Baltimore cast-off pitchers like Doyle Alexander and Rorik Harrison, both with ERAs around 2. Plus, of course, those New York Met older outfielders that the Mets gave up on, Tommy A.G. and Don Clendenon in this case. That's the Toronto path to success. The Yankees today will have Fritz Peterson. He gave up 5 runs in the first inning in his last start and then nothing after that and got a no decision. Fritz Peterson, 15-game winner with a 3.05 ERA in 71 and 274 innings. I expect a great baseball game today and maybe a Game 7 after this. So we'll see what we got. Leading off for your Toronto Blue Jays against the lefty, they got to switch things up a bit. It's Carl Taylor leading off. He pops to second. Tim Foley, 110, rolls to short. And Mike Lum, batting third, having an incredible season. 37, double 1 of 17 off his card, is a 2-base hit. And batting fourth, Milt May. 67 off Peterson is single 1 to 6, and he misses it, rolls 17. Bottom of 1, it'll be Roy White. The Yankees are much better against righties than lefties, with a short porch in right field. Roy White, 37 is a walk. Batting second is Horace Clarke, and I think Horace is going to do a hit and run. And that did not work. It's a fielder's choice. But that's okay, because Horace Clarke is a base stealer, just like Roy White is, just like Bobby Mercer, who is stepping into the batter's box. Runner at first, 1 out, Bobby Mercer. 4-4 off Alexander, third X. Today's third baseman, oh boy, Hal Lanier, the good defensive one, a 2E15. But look at this, a single off a 2 defensive player at third. That's a tough break for Toronto. Mercer's at first, Clark's at second. And your batter is Ron Bloomberg. 3-6. Let's take a look at the incredible Ron Bloomberg card. We know him to historically be the American League's first DH, meaning that he, the early game in 1973 or 73 or 74? 73. I think Orlando Cepeda and Ron Bloomberg were the DHs that day, but the Yankees were the visiting team, so Ron Bloomberg is known as the American League's first designated hitter. 322 and 71 with 7 home runs. Really scorches the ball here. 3-6, no doubt about this one. A 3-run bomb. And the Yankees, for this particular series at least, an early 3-run lead. They've had to come back in several of their victories. Will this be a reversal of the game where Toronto got 5 runs in the first and the Yankees came back and won? Now the Yankees have the 3 runs in the first with 1 out, and Elliot Maddox is up. 46, short X. The shortstop is Foley. He's also a 2E29. Makes the play. And Greg Nettles, 212, flies to center. You could see that the 2 defense there, that could have been a double play, and Bloomberg might not even have batted in the inning. That's how tight this series has been on the edge there. Top of the 2, Tommy A.G. 66, bounces to short. It is Michael, a 334 at shortstop, and he makes the play. Jim Brazil, 2-4, rolls to the pitcher. Yvonne Morel having a great year. Strikes out, though. Bottom of 2, Tom Hutton, 35, is a walk. Thurman Munson, interesting. He bats cleanup against lefties, but he bats 8th against righties. 45 is a strikeout. Stick Michael, 212 is a walk. 2 on, 1 out. Back up top to Roy White. 38 is a fielder's choice. And with runners on the corners, it's Horace Clark. 410 off of Alexander's homer 1-15, double the rest. It'll have to be a single because Clark does not have power, but that will score a runner. It is 4-0. White's at third, Clark's at first, and it's Bobby Mercer. 4-0 Yanks. The pitch to Mercer. 310, single 1-19, and he gets it. And oh boy, the Yankees have a 5-run lead, and clearly the best start of this series. First and second with 2 outs. Ron Bloomberg. 3-7. You saw the card. It's single 1-15. It is a base hit. Loading the bases for Elliot Maddox. 2-7. Let's take a look at Elliot Maddox's card, folks. Brought to New York, and in 74, he is in top 10 voting in the American League for MVP with a 303 season. Great arm and range in center field, but can also play infield if you needed him to. Though they, of course, would not want to do that when you're a 1 in center field. Why would you have him play in the infield? And like Mercer, just rolled single 1-19, and he barely gets it, but again, it's single 1-19. It's a base hit. We'll score another run. You got the bases loaded with 2 outs as they bat around with 3 runs in the tank and 6 runs on the board for Greg Nettles. 2-2, flies to right field B plus injury. Well, leave them loaded, and you lose your star defensive third baseman. The way they'll fix this is Gene Alley will come into play shortstop. The shortstop with Stick Michael, he can actually play third base as utility player, which is what Michael is at this stage of his career. So it is 6-0 for the Blue Jays. Now they have to play some history-breaking moment here. Do they actually rally? We would expect them to based on their history. Down 6-0, down a game in the series. Let's see what happens. Darrell Chaney. 1-5 strikes out. Hal Lanier. 2-8. Yeah, these names you're hearing, yeah, they don't sound like all-star playoff caliber names, do they? Carl Taylor. 46, second X. Horace Clark, 316. Makes the play. All right, bottom of the third. Doyle Alexander in there because of his reputation. He's got a great card, but he's really pitched terribly today. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 3 batters will break him, hit his point of weakness. That's the way I'll score it this time. It'll be Tom Hutton leading off. 64 lines to short. Munson, 111, rolls to short. And Stick Michael, 69, walks. Back up top to Roy White. 65, pops to third base. A little bit of a reset there for Alexander. He settles in slightly. 6-0 now. Toronto's going to have to get the bats going. Tim Foley. 1-9 is a sky to center field. Mike Lum, 111, flies to right. And Milt May, 55, short X. Shortstop is Michael. No, it's Alley, the 3E26. He makes the play. Bottom of the fourth. Horace Clark, 5-2, first. Mercer, 65, pops to third. And Ron Bloomberg, 35, a single. What a day for him, 3 for 3. Elliot Maddox, 68, second X. Second baseman Darrell Chaney is a 3E28. Makes the play. We go to the fifth. And the story today is a revitalized Fritz Peterson. Got blasted for 5 runs in the first inning. First time around against the Blue Jays. Today, 4 shutout innings. Tommy A.G., 59, lines to third. Brazil, 48. Homer, 1-6, fly ball the rest. And the ball must be blowing in. And Blue Jays have missed a lot of hit and homer chances today. And that's telling the story here. Ivan Morel bounces to the pitcher. Going through the body language here. Not looking good for the Blue Jays. They're kind of seeing that their opportunity to come back in this series. No, I wouldn't worry about the Blue Jays too much. They will play for a right to get into the playoffs as a wild card still. Greg Nettles, if they were to lose today. And matter of fact, the Yankees would pass them by it's just a single game. So it's not a big deal, really. As long as they continue to keep playing great baseball after today. Bottom of the fifth, Nettles, of course, left with the injury. So this is Gene Alley. 3-11 is a walk. Tom Hutton is going to do a hit and run, the big 6-0 lead. Why not? Have some fun. Hit and run. Rolls a 7 means the runner has to try to steal a base. And he rolls a 6 and he steals a base. That is Mr. Gene Alley, a C stealer. So he gets credit for a stolen base as Hutton swings through the pitch. You got a runner at second, and Hutton, well, you know what? He's going to bunt now. And he rolls a 6 and he gets in the third base. So that's how you get a runner to third with 1 out. You miss a hit and run, the guy steals, then you bunt him over to third. So now you have a runner at third with 1 out. They got to bring the infield up. Don't want any more damage here. Throw in Munson. 63, first C, but the infield was up. So the runner doesn't score. Now they move it back. Runner at third, 2 outs. Stick Michael. 2-9. Stick Michael delivers a 2-out single. Scoring Alley, and it's 7-0. Good fundamental baseball by the Yankees. Can't, you know. And again, you know, these Yankee player names too. Gene Alley, Gene Michael, and what was the other guy? Tom Hutton. Yeah, they're not... you're starting to see that both these teams are overachieving overall for the season. Roy White, 56, flies to center field. 5 innings in the books. Let's pause a moment for station identification.
This is the Shrimp Trawler video channel.
Este es el canal de videos de camaroneros.
All right, we go to the 6th. 7-0 game. Can the Blue Jays make something out of this? Fritz Peterson having a day. A double is the only dent on the scoring book. Darrell Chaney. 65 pops to short. Hal Lanier. 1-7 rolls to short. Carl Taylor. 6-11 short X. And Alley, again the 326 shortstop, makes the play. What a day, Fritz Peterson. 1 hit and batter over the minimum through 6. Will Alexander get through 6 innings and he is the ace? Chance to lower the ERA maybe. Horace Clark, 48. Single 1 of 14, but he rolls a 15. Bobby Mercer. 1-7. Let's take a look at the Bobby Mercer card of 71. 25 home runs, a 331 batting average, 91 walks. actually has moved into right field from center field just because Elliot Maddox is a 1 in center field. So he's been to a few All-Star games for me with this card. It's always played well, and it continues to play well today as he collects his 3rd hit, triple 1 to 10 double. That is a triple, and the infield comes up. And just don't know what to do with Toronto at this point. Bring it up for Bloomberg. 68 is a walk. And now I think we've seen enough here. 5 1/3 for Doyle Alexander. Unfortunately, just didn't work out today. We expected him to pitch well. He has through most of the season, but he finally hit a rough spot in the schedule. Yankees in control. 7-0 lead. Runners in the corners. 1 out. And now it's about finding somebody who could use some work in the bullpen. I think they'll go with Phil Hennigan here in the 6th. Phil Hennigan, a nice little guy, does serve up a gopher ball, but he doesn't put a lot of men on base. 67 innings, just 54. A 2.69 ERA. He was a Cleveland Indian in 72. Hennigan trying to see if he can get through the rest of this inning. Phil Hennigan in the 6th. Loading up and hold for Elliot Maddox. 68, single 1-2-8, line out the rest. He gets the single though, and the Yankees make it 8-zip. 1st and 2nd, and it's Gene Alley. 5-11, second X. In today's second baseman, you have Cheney's a 3E28. He gets a ground ball C that moves runners up. And with 2 outs and a run in, it's Tom Hutton. 2-11. Lines the second base. 8-0 game. Fritz Peterson. Top of the 7th. Tim Foley. 59 lines the 3rd. Mike Lum 3-6 is a K. Milt May 2-9 rolls to 1st. The fans in Yankee Stadium have something to cheer for. They are playing like the late 70s Yankees with a different cast, of course. Great baseball by the New York Yankees, who kind of stunk up the joint last year, but they and the Orioles have resoundingly come back with huge seasons. Stretch time music, we are enjoying Paul Desmond's 1969 Bridge Over Troubled Water. The softer air of Paul Desmond doing 59th Street Bridge song, Mrs. Robinson, America, Scarborough Fair, Cecilia. You get the idea. Paul Desmond, and let's return to the game. Bottom of the 7th. Hennigan will continue. It's Munson. 4-11, left X. Morel's a 2-8 in left field. That's a base hit. Gene Michael, 35. That's a double play ball. Back up top to Roy White. 65. And that is gone off of Hennigan. I remember he serves up gopher balls, and that's one of them. 9-zip. And finally, the Blue Jays look awful for the first time in a long time. Since early last year or the year before that, when they truly were awful. But in a playoff wild card team run, the Blue Jays are finally stinking up the joint. We go to the 8th. Fritz Peterson, trying to go for the one-hit shutout. Tommy A.G., 54, third X. The new third baseman after the Nettles injury is Michael, a 3.37 at third. Makes the play though. Jim Brazil, 1-7. Homer 1-4, fly ball, misses it, and the shutout is preserved. Ivan Morel, 57, flies to right field. All right, inning and 2/3 for Hennigan. We'll leave. We'll get some work to Elias Sosa. Sosa was a giant in 73, 10-4, 3.28 ERA in 107 innings. Nice. This is a very nice collection of baseball cards for the Toronto Blue Jay expansion team. There's not a noticeable weakness. But again, if your opponent starts playing at all-star caliber levels, you're gonna eventually meet your match. Bobby Mercer, 38, is a walk. Bloomberg, 43, left X. Morel's a 2-8 and left. Oh, it's going to be a double. It's getting ugly here in New York. Elliot Maddox, 2-4, bounces to short, will score a run, making it 10-zip. Gene Alley, 3-2. Let's take a look. We have to, folks. Let's take a look at Gene Alley, Pittsburgh Pirate of 1972, 248 hitter. Both Gene Michael and Gene Alley, shortstops of the Yankees and Pirates, were put on waivers a year ago simply because there was no reason to protect them when the teams had other guys to protect. Yankees didn't have a shortstop during the draft, so they made a handshake agreement with Gene Michael that said, hey, if nobody claims you, come back to us. And then they added Gene Alley as well, so they have both of these shortstops who are getting up there in years, where Michael's a switch hitter, Alley's a right-handed batter. In this one, Gene Alley rolls 3-2, homer 1-6, double the rest, just misses the home run, has to settle for an RBI double. 11-0. Tom Hutton, 46, flies to right, and with 2 outs, it's Munson. 2-6, single, ... 12-0. Gene Michael. The Yankees are showing the world what they got today, folks. Second X, trying to get the rest of the American League scared of them. Not too sure about that. I mean, we could be saying, it could be that they are beating up what is truly an inferior Toronto team that has been overachieving for quite some time. 12-0 though. Fritz Peterson wants the shutout. He's going back out there. Darrell Chaney, 2-5 is a strikeout. Hal Lanier, 63, first C, and with 2 outs, it's Carl Taylor. 69 is a single. Tim Foley, 42, and there it is. He rolls back to the mound. So 2 batters over the minimum and a 2-hit shutout by Fritz Peterson. And what a rather disappointing way to end this series. So 5 really good baseball games and a clunker for all you folks, which is a real shame. No real way to control that for you. You get the worst of the 6 games. The Yankees win this game and the series. They win the series 4-2. Fritz Peterson, 2-hit shutout, 4 strikeouts. Sosa in the 8th. Oh boy, 3 hits, 3 runs and a walk. That's going to put the year-to-date numbers of Toronto in real bad shape suddenly. Hennigan give up a hit in that inning. In the next inning, 2 hits and a run. And Doyle Alexander takes the loss, of course. 9 hits, 8 runs, or 7. Is it 8? Yeah, it's 8 runs. Is all this earned? Oh yeah, that's going to kill the kid's ERA. That's a shame. He had been pitching so brilliantly up to today. But 8 earned runs and 5 1/3 for Doyle Alexander. That's going to leave a mark on the old earned run average. 1009, 0108, 121502, 121502, 0471. A clear destruction today by the New York Yankees. Shining, they have more talent than the Blue Jays. And they're outplaying teams across baseball that were traditionally better than them, like Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, the Mets, the Dodgers. They got their stars aligned, at least this year. So far, the Yankees certainly do have things lined up rather nicely. Could they win the World Series? Absolutely. So, the Yankees move finally. It took them a while, but they move ahead of the Blue Jays. The Yankees are 15-9. They're hitting .253 with a .296 team ERA. They got some great pitchers here. Stottlemyre, Peterson, Medich, McAndrew, McDaniel, Kekich, Bean, Lyle. Only Kekich has an ERA over 3.5. Everybody else is around 2.5 to 3. So really great pitching for the Yankees. Not a lot of power. Roy White, believe it or not, has 5 home runs to lead the squad. Bloomberg got his 3rd today. Hits on this team, I got to go to Bobby Mercer again. 31 for 92, hitting .333 for the 3rd or 4th year in a row with that card. Toronto, 13-9, hitting .256 with a .341 ERA, and of course both of those numbers got worse after the blowout. Now you're seeing Doyle Alexander just 2-2. Even after getting blown out today, let's see, 25 And his ERA's just shot up to 5.48. That's a shame. He was pitching great. Clyde Wright's pitching well. Jerry Royce has given up 3 runs in 28 innings. So maybe it's time to hide Doyle Alexander a little bit more. Home runs on this team, Brazil and Clendenon have 5. Hits, Mike Lum, batting third, 33 for 92, leading the club in hitting. It's a great story for the Blue Jays. Let's look at the overall standings in the East now. These two teams will flip. So the Yankees will be in second place. The Blue Jays will be in third. Now the Blue Jays are kind of on the outside looking in on, of the playoffs. But that's okay. They still have, let's see, in the final series, 1 plays 4. So Boston plays the Yankees. And the Blue Jays will play the Orioles. So the Orioles, the Blue Jays are 3.5 out of first place, but they will be playing the team in first place before the All-Star break. That's it today. Break up the New York Yankees. They do indeed beat the Toronto Blue Jays 4 games to 2. Thanks for checking this out. We'll see you next time.